right, a little out of my comfort zone here, but this is it's a 12 valve Cummins in a 96 half-ton Suburban. It actually looks really cool. It is, excuse all the junk I've been working, but this thing looks sweet. It's set up just about how anybody would want it. Solid axle swap. It's got a Dana 44 or Dana 60 78 something forward front diff. I'm not a solid axle swap type of knowledge knower, so that's what that is up there. And we have a 14 bolt Duramax rear end in the back. The Duramax part is not the only thing in here that is just out of a Duramax. It's got a Allison 1000 out of a LBZ Duramax as well. So it's got a 6-speed Allison behind a 12 valve Cummins. So we got a fully basic mechanical engine with a very newer technology transmission. We got to get the wiring done. Basically, he put the engine transmission in. We got to get the wiring done and get the interior all buttoned up, make sure all the factory stuff works. He's got a Dakota digital style gauge cluster we got to put in, which that is currently a disaster. But we got to put that in for him, make sure all that stuff works. We got to build drive shafts. I built the exhaust already, you'll see that. And we got to get AC working. We got to get an intercooler plumbed. And we got to get basically everything working. So let's dive into this thing and see what we got going on back here. Kind of hard to see, but we got the downpipe ran. So this engine is a 12 valve Cummins, studded headwork. It's got a different manifold on it to bring the an up and forward style manifold to bring the turbo up a little higher and farther forward. It's got 200 over injectors, don't quote me, I think that's what he said. I don't know, a whole bunch of numbers, 200 something over. Don't know my Cummins terminology when it comes to injectors and whatnot. But it's got 200 over injectors and a S473 turbo on it. So it's got a pretty large turbo on it. I'd assume it probably makes 600 something crank horsepower. If I had to guess, that might be too much. You Cummins guys, let me know. But we got a downpipe made for it. Kind of hard to see. It was extremely tight. So when you put an Allison in this thing, it moves the starter to the other side of the engine. You could fit a 6-inch downpipe off this side of the engine, but no bigger than 3.5 inch could fit over here there without just demolishing the cab, putting a body lift on it or something. But 3.5 inch is what factory, I think the newer Cummins came out with. I did some research. Some people said you need a 4-inch, blah, 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 whatever. But we put a 3.5 inch downpipe to a full inch exhaust. Let's pick this up and show you what I've got done so far. See if you guys can see now. So that there is the downpipe. Hey, I grabbed this light. Let me put it in my hand. So that there is the downpipe. Right off the turbo, right through here. Plenty of room for activities. Not really, only about 1/8 of an inch there. And without the hanger on it, it's touching that, but when you put the hanger on it, it'll pick it up. and we're literally like a 1/4 of an inch from the top and a 1/4 inch from the bottom. But since it is solid axle swapped, it kind of screwed us. We got trans lines that are supposed to come out right here, and then the starter goes in that hole right there. So we ran out of room very quickly for what we're trying to get done here. So but yeah, the exhaust, I think it turned out sweet. It looks cool. Of course, we don't have to worry about it ever hitting that because this axle isn't going to go up that high. It's tucked as tight as we can get it here. You can't see any of it under the frame rail. There's plenty of room up top, and it switches to 4-inch right there. So it's 3.5 to 4-inch. Really not that much difference in pipe, honestly, but yeah, we got plenty of room back here. So I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing left I have to do is put some hangers on this thing. I'm probably going to put 3 on it. 1 in the back, 1 right here in the middle, 1 up towards the front to control as much movement as we can. Probably 2 to allow it to droop down and 1 to push it back up so it don't move anywhere. But yeah, the exhaust is done. That had to be done basically first. I say first. Only thing I've done is strip the factory wiring. I pulled all this wiring out. There's pieces thrown everywhere. I have stripped the factory harness. So let me get this thing back on the ground and show you guys what we're dealing with up there. If you ever plan on coming swapping anything, reach out to me. I'll be able to help. Hopefully it works. I've never done it before, but it ain't much different than an LS when you talk about stripping wires. So yeah, let's get this thing on the ground and let's talk that. All right, let's talk 12-valve Cummins swap with an Allison in the wiring department. So he did all the mounting and everything. It's a factory Suburban trans cross member. He just moved it around, and I'm assuming by the looks of that mount, somebody's probably done this before and they make mounts for it, or it's just a generic Cummins mount and it somehow works. Sure, engine mounts probably aren't that hard to find. Information that I could probably get you guys if you needed it, but I don't know it. But we got basically a big block radiator moved farther back, an aftermarket intercooler tucked back here. The factory AC condenser is back there. Hopefully you guys can see all that. He's got this, I think it's a TIS elbow, FIS, whatever, a 90-degree elbow coming off the turbo, running down. He's got this side of the cold side done. I got to finish that side. Now on the wiring department, he's got a fast ran already. So he's got a fast ran. Pretty simple. Power and a ground and a key switch on wire. So 3 wires for the fast, no big deal. This is what is the problem. This is a Destroked diesel harness for an Allison to a Cummins. 12-valve, 24-valve. Probably that's it. Probably once you get after the 24-valve, it becomes a lot more technology advanced. But yeah, this is what we got. It's a standalone harness. Basically, you need throttle position sensor, and I think you might need engine RPM signal to run so it can figure out where it needs to shift at, what RPM, when you need to go to lockup. It's got the speed sensor built into it. The factory Allison plug is built into it. You can get tap shift, tow haul, all the fancy stuff, which we have to figure out. So I'm learning. I'll bring you along with that. But the reason why we had to do the downpipe first is because I got to run battery cables and get power over to this fuse block so I can start hooking up the fast, so I can start getting power to this harness, so I can start getting power to the interior harness and all the stuff inside. So I have to get power, but I can't run battery cables until I get the downpipe ran, because I got to run the battery cable to the starter, which is extremely close to that there downpipe. So I got to mount a battery possibly back there and 1 over there in the factory location. 2 batteries because diesel, right? Diesel life. So we got the 2 batteries over here. The factory tray should fit right here, even though it's supposed to go over there. I got to make 2 custom battery trays, not that big of a deal. Run some battery cable, which is probably what that'll be. And then I can start hooking power up, seeing where the factory power goes here. I have to put a non-ABS proportioning valve in, and I have to run the back steel lines for the rear end. The front is already ran. So pretty simple stuff, but I'm going to take you through this project, and I think it's going to go fairly quickly. I sure hope, because my single cab is currently sitting waiting for the painter to be available to help me paint the truck. So I got minimal time, and that's currently why it looks like a freaking tornado went through the shop. But I'm trying to get you guys content. I'm trying to get me some of that greenbacks back. I'm hoping this year brings a little bit more Benjamin Franklin's to me, just because I feel like I should be working a lot harder this year, because I really don't have an excuse not to. So yeah, I'm going to get to cranking on some of this wiring and stuff. I'm going to put the camera down for a second, and then I'm going to find a good point to pick you guys back up and bring you back some information on this swap. And to be honest, I'm hoping the next couple videos you see is this thing running, because it is just a 12 valve. So, but yeah, stay tuned. This is going to be something neat, something cool, something different for me. So I'm pumped. Had to get a little creative here. Had to move the radiator and everything about another, probably almost an inch closer to the fan. So the top of the fan is about an inch away still yet, but the bottom of the fan is within probably like a quarter of an inch. It's kind of hard to tell just because the optical illusion here, but yeah, it's tight down there. But with that being moved forward, this allows the AC condenser to go quite a bit farther forward, and this allows this to go in farther forward, because before it was hitting right here. So we got to get some longer rubber clamps here, because this is butted up to basically both metal, and it's got to go farther this way. This one over here is fine. There's only one joint on this whole system that's not going to have a bead on it, and it's this guy right here. But that has to be that way because I got to put a battery right there. So a battery's got to go in this area, and if I ran this tube up any other different way, I know it's hard to see, but if I ran that tube up any other way, the battery wouldn't be able to fit. I got to put one over here. I got to figure out how to put one over there, and I can't put it up in the factory spot because that hose is here. So it's got to go back there in the way of the hood hinges. So it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt, but we're going to get it. I got to make some mounts for this. This should be able to bolt right here. It's got these 2 little nipples on the bottom here. I should be able to drill through that and put 2 bolts there. Probably make some sort of an L bracket right here for that, and do the same thing with this. The radiator is in there tight. There's holes drilled in the bottom of the core support down here. That's not going nowhere. So unless something pushes the front end of the truck back, like it gets hit, that's the only time that radiator is ever going to move in its life, because that thing is in there freaking tight. I'm going to make a plate to go across here so it looks better, but that's not going to do anything really. It's just going to look better. I think we're probably going to end up spray painting this black, but with the weird bends that this has, it's going to be kind of hard to get such a tight 90 in this size over here, and it's going to be hard to kind of make that a long wide 90. We could probably make it all in rubber, but this way I can make a mount right here and bolt it right to the engine block, and that will never go anywhere, and it'll be stout. And I mean, Cummins are usually a little on the rattly side, a little bit vibration. We don't want anything to happen to that. It is going to kind of suck getting to this. We might have to put a 90-degree fitting on that, but if I pull this away just a little bit, you can get straight down on there. That's a heater core hose. So yeah, the grill fits just fine. So on to the next step, really making some brackets and doodads and whatnots, and finding some more silicone couplers, And now we're to the point where it's time to make battery trays, which I have a battery tray here. It's an aftermarket style. It's supposed to bolt this way instead of bolting from the bottom. It's supposed to bolt from the side and let it hang. I'm thinking mount it on the fenders somehow, or mount it on the firewall somehow, depending on if the sizes fit up right. If that all fits right, I'll buy another one. I only bought one for now. They're like $35 right off Amazon. If it fits, great. The ones I was gonna use and the original ones aren't gonna fit most likely unless we find a 6'5" one, but lo and behold, those are kind of hard to find. So yeah, we're just gonna keep on trucking along and see what we can come up with. So thanks for sticking around. There it is. Good? Yep. My wiring worked. The tax said 3,500 at idle, 3,400, so I gotta go in and change probably to a 4-cylinder. And the oil pressure said 75. Gauges worked. No leaks. That was cool. That was scary, but that was cool. Well, it's been a hot minute since I've picked this camera up. Probably been, honestly, about 2 weeks, maybe a little more. But we have been getting a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff done. Basically, I'm running out of time. Got a lot of stuff coming up, projects to do, personal projects to do, and I just set the camera down and I got to work, and I probably got crap all over my face. Yep. But back to it. I got a lot of stuff to do and a short time to get it done, but I'm gonna give you guys a little once over what all we've done so far. We have trans cooler and everything was mounted. I had to pull it down to get the torque converter bolts in because I gotta spin the crank over. Let me grab a light. I gotta get the spin the crank over to get the torque converter bolts lined up. So there's a little hole right there, if you can see it, where the torque converter is. And with this adapter plate for the Cummins and the Allison, you have to get to it by those right there, that hole. And well, you need a special freaking socket to do it. So I don't have it. You need one of those like pass-through wrenches with a socket. I need a 15mm. But the last of the video you've seen, we got the exhaust done. That is in there and looks great. I just picked these drive shafts up, freshly made. Huge shout out to A-Line drive shafts in St. Louis. Got me hooked up there, decently priced, and yeah, I mean, it didn't take very long. I measured it and they fixed me up. But we got a front drive shaft in here. No Bluetooth ones on here. Got a Duramax rear drive shaft. We had to have a different yoke put on the back here because this is a 14 bolt 10.5 inch instead of the 11.5. So it has a different yoke on it. Instead of swapping the yoke on the pinion and whatnot, that's what we did. The brakes are bled. We had to make these lines here. We made them, put them on, mounted the welded the little tabs to the rear end, mounted the soft brake lines to the metal brake lines on both sides here. So that was pretty time consuming. We've got the fuel sender is wired up, but you can't really tell it, but we went from a 6.5 Suburban tank to a gas tank, gas tank from the original 350 that was in this truck. And I'm gonna set this thing down and we're gonna check out what we did in the engine bay and go from there. So stay tuned. Well, the engine bay is almost wrapped up. We got a throttle position sensor to wire up. It goes right there on the pump itself and the throttle linkage, and we got to get a return spring there. But other than that, all the wiring is done besides the AC, which kind of we have to figure that out once we get the AC lines and stuff made up. But I have to loom a couple things, but other than that, everything works inside. Right now, since I don't have the torque converter bolts and stuff in, I'll start it up. We can hear it later on, and I'll show you guys the inside gauges and stuff on that video. But we have the TCM for the Allison right here. The TCM also through, I think it's Dirty Hooker Diesel or some website that that TCM is through. It kind of both works together, but we got all the power wires hooked up. We got us a bus bar right here for all the power that we need. The alternator wires ran over here. Both battery cables are hooked to the starter. We had to run all new starter wires. We have an oil gauge, oil pressure gauge, coolant temperature gauge, boost, EGT gauge, all the gauges you can think of. This thing's pretty well got it, and it's all hooked up. We went ahead and put a Dakota digital, full digital dash in it, and we have put 3 pillar pods on it, a boost gauge, and all that is hooked up. I've been wiring like crazy, literally pretty well for 2 weeks straight. Every chance I can get, I've been out here running wires. I put an ABS delete proportioning valve on here. We kind of reused some of the factory lines, and some of them blew after we did it, and they don't make a kit for this, of course, so I kind of had to make my own lines. And honestly, all the lines should have been made before the engine and everything was put in here, so it's really hard to bend and fit lines in tight areas. So if the engine wasn't in here, you could bend it, place it, get it perfect, but there's no way around it, and we're not pulling this engine back out just to put some brake lights on. So it's kind of just going to be what it's going to be until, of course, down the road, hopefully. The only thing that this could be better on is aesthetics. It could look better, but other than that, it's pretty well perfect. You know, all the lines are brand new besides one factory line that goes all the way to the back. I had to replace all the ones on front because they just kept on blowing. So every line is new on it, all rubber lines, the calipers, pads, everything's new, brake system front to back. That we had to do that. We had to figure out the starting system. I spent probably 6 hours total just trying to figure out why this thing wouldn't start off the key. Well, I forgot that this thing was originally a 4L60E truck, and the neutral safety switch is on the side of the transmission, and it goes to the starter interlock system. We got to have your foot on the brake before you can put it in gear. All that stuff goes through and kind of runs off the same circuit, so we weren't getting the ground to the signal ground to the relay of the starter. So after all that, and I realized I cut the transmission harness out of it already, there's no real help with wiring diagrams, so I have unpinned the bottom of the relay board here, and we ran a ground wire in there, and it's going to be on a push button. Everything else is going to turn on and off with the key. The truck is going to start on and off with the key. The fuel solenoid is wired up right here on a relay, 30 amp relay, so it ain't going nowhere. And the push button is going to be ground controlled, so there's going to be absolutely 0 major power wires going into the cab to start this thing. It's going to be a ground controlled switch. It still runs through the factory relay, the factory switch. He wanted it as factory as we can get it, but when you do something this astronomical, there's a lot to it. I mean, it's just putting the starter in here. It's got a Ford 6.7 starter. That's a 12 valve Cummins, and that's a Allison 1000 6-speed with an adapter plate. Why it's got a 6.7 Ford starter, I'll never know, but we had to build a custom shim for it because nobody makes a shim for it. So I had to make a shim for it, get it welded, get it ground smooth, get it perfect before it could go in there and start. I made this coolant pipe here that's a piece of stainless. I welded a bracket to because nobody really makes a coolant hose that fits this perfectly. So it's a lot of slow moving stuff that it took a little bit of thinking, and videotaping was kind of the last priority here with the time frames that are coming up with all the events I'm trying to go to and everything in general. So this is going to be probably the last little bit of me talking about this truck. We got to figure out a little bit of the trans tuning, which that is probably not going to happen through me. We're probably going to have to find somebody else to do it. But other than a trans tune, this thing will be ready to run and drive, and he needs an alignment, so I can't really drive it anyways. But I will take a video of us. We're probably going to rev it up a little bit. We're going to listen how it sounds, and then we might see this truck again because I think we're going to put some traction bars on and stuff once he gets it on the road. He said he's going to finish up the AC system, and he's probably going to put a new grill in it and do a lot of the minor aesthetic things to this truck, you know, fix a couple of the dents and maybe put a new bumper on it. And he's got to put a new grill, like I said, maybe put a cowl hood on it, and he's going to fix the purple window tint and just get the thing back going. This truck's been sitting for a long time, so now that it's starting, runs, it should move forward and backwards. It's got brakes, it's got a drive shaft. Like, this thing's pretty well almost done. He said he was going to finish the rest because that's just what he wanted to do. We could finish it, but it's going to take a lot of little nitpicky time, and it's honestly going to cost him more than if he would just go out and do a couple of these little things, because it's a lot of just driving to a parts store, having a guy make a line, and, you know, once he gets that little stuff back, we might see this truck again. So, yeah, I'm going to get this thing probably tomorrow after I get the special tool, the socket and everything I need to tighten up the torque converter bolts. But other than that, I'm going to get a couple more little things done. You guys are going to see some final videos of this thing running, the gauge clusters put in and all that. And he's putting all new interior in it too. He said he would do that, so that's what he wanted to do to save a couple bucks for himself. So he's got to pull all the interior out to put all new carpet in it and finish up a couple of the little interior things. But I got the gauges in there. The gauges work. Everything else should work. Factory, the windows should go up and down, but he's missing the switch here because he was going to take it all apart. But I got to tidy up some of this wiring, make sure the fuel gauge works, the digital clusters in there, gauge pods. But yeah, once we get the power turned back on, I'll show you guys all that, and we'll go from there. But I'm pretty well wrapped up with this thing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the little bit of a different project for me. I've never touched a Cummins truck in my life. I don't even think I've turned the key to a Cummins vehicle besides a semi. So this is pretty neat for me to be able to get it started. And honestly, the video you guys see probably just before this, that was the first time this thing's ever started in my shop. So it's a pretty big deal for me to get it running and not have a problem with it. Really, it shut off with the key. Nothing crazy happened. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, and this is probably going to end it off. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Should be fun. That's what I think looks the best. There's a couple other options, but they're a little too fancy. Trans temp, EGT, boost. Like I said, the fuel gauge is above the, I guess that would be the 16th line, so that's probably accurate. We got 11.9 volts, probably accurate. This thing's got a lot of stuff going on as soon as you turn the key on. Let's get it cranked up, which is on this push button here. Oil pressure, 14 volts. Can't ask for much more. The tech is a little off. I'm gonna go through here and see if I can get that right. successfully made it outside. It went forward and it went backwards because I backed it out that way, pulled it this way, backed it in that way. Man, we're doing all the angles. It started, I mean, I had to charge the batteries are a little weak, but started just fine this morning. It was probably, I don't know, 30 degrees in the shop. We don't have a grid heater or nothing, or a block heater or anything, so it did pretty good. Of course, it's very snowy outside, but there's a warm front this week, so this is the first time this thing's moved under its own power in probably 10 or 11 years, I was told. Last licensed in 2017, but I don't think those are the plates that belong on this thing. I think they're from a different truck, but the owner said it was 10 years since it's moved under its own power, so I can only imagine it's been parked in the garage a little longer than that. But yeah, we got a Cummins swapped 12 valve with an Allison 1000 6-speed out of an LBZ. Dakota digital gauges. We do have to figure out a little bit with the trans tuning. We gotta talk to the tuner. Shout out to him for coming to it. Well, we emailed him. He said, hey, let me get into your computer. I'll do what I can over the phone, basically for free, because we bought the Destroked harness or whatever. So, but yeah, it's running. We got great oil pressure. We got to figure out a couple minor little things, but like I said, he's putting wheels and tires on it. He's gonna finish the interior. He's gonna put carpet in it. He's gonna put a new grill on it. So like, he's gonna do a lot of the cosmetic stuff, but the main thing is, for me, is done. I mean, the only thing I really have to do is wire up a little bit of the AC stuff whenever he's ready for it. He's gonna make AC lines, but it's pretty well, I would say, ready to put around the block. I wouldn't say we need to go down the highway just yet, but I'd like to see if it shifts gears. But with the tires that are on it, I really can't do that. So this is probably where this video is gonna end off. I think I am gonna end up delivering it to this guy, so I'll probably show you guys that a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But so far it's so good. I bet you it'll pull right up on a trailer, no problem. So it sounds awesome. It's a weird sound coming from a 96 Suburban, but it's cool. It's really cool.